This video is a recording of a live event, about an hour and 15-minute webinar, and it's really packed with all sorts of energy healings and information and explorations into the fine abstract layers of creation. I hope you love it. If you do, please like and subscribe. I will give a brief description of what is energy healing for the new people. We'll go into 3 minutes of silence, and then prayer of gratitude. That just takes like a minute or less than a minute. And then we'll dive into tonight's topic, which is healing for different systems of the body. What is energy healing? Energy healing. Oh, energy healing. I have a new definition for you guys. For those who've been with me for like 6 years and they're like, we know what energy healing is. I realized a simpler way to understand energy healing is to use attention. It still uses attention, but what we do is we use attention in that junction point between the unmanifest field of creation. I've got this nice ocean picture back here, and it's so beautiful. These ocean pictures are perfect because you kind of get this feeling of this ocean of infinite unbounded consciousness down here, and then the whole field of manifestation up here, right? And so the silent ocean of consciousness is the resource for all that manifest part of creation. And in energy healing, what we're doing is we're working at the level of the junction between the unmanifest and the manifest. And this is like going to the core or seat of the problem, right? You go right into that spot right there between the unmanifest and the manifest with the awareness or attention. And then the littlest, tiniest change, the tiny, like just the barest little adjustment, like just like right there, that's like moving the base of the iceberg, right? Like we only see the part that's on the surface, but there's like, say this is the physical material level up here, and then there's all this bit down under the water that we don't see of the iceberg. But if we want to move the iceberg, what we do is we dive down underneath the iceberg and we grab the tip of the iceberg that's down underneath, and we just move it a little bit, just turn it a little bit, and the whole iceberg moves like that. So this is what we're doing in energy healing. We're learning, and I'm helping. We're doing it together. This is what the live webinars are all about, is us actually doing those moves together. So you can start to feel it. So you can start to experience what that's like, to make those little turns at that deep level of consciousness that gives rise to dramatic effects at the surface of the world, and it changes the way the world is formed. It helps change the trajectory of the bodies, all the relative is all changing, always changing. And so what those little moves, maybe I'll put my fingers on this side where the light is so we don't get the shadows, but those little moves down there, they affect the way those transformations are occurring at the surface through the manifestation process, right? From the very fine expression to the more dense, to the physical material. Intentionally, right? Intentionally. It resets the trajectory of the change, so that the change is a change in the direction of optimal health. That's energy healing. I know I thought, oh, this will be so much simpler to explain it this way. And I'm like, oh, it's kind of complicated, but that's okay. We'll do it. We'll just do it. We'll do it. Then we explain it. Then we do it. Then we explain. We go back and forth. And when we go back and forth like that, that like just sets it in like concrete. It gets it stabilized into the system, which is the whole idea of this. So thank you all for being with me. And thank you for so many of you being with me again and again. We keep doing it over and over again so that we get this all established at the highest and best possible way. All right. So why 3 minutes of silence at the beginning of our session? Well, we start out with some experience, right? And the idea in these 3 minutes of silence is that we take these minutes to allow our awareness to go in and fathom that source of creation level, because that's really the foundation of all this whole story. The whole story is like churning out from the source of creation. So a few moments of silence. I'll time us. When I say let's open our eyes, don't come out too fast. Take your time, because the slow coming out helps um, integration, helps to integrate the experience, because we want to own that experience, right? We want to really feel it and really get it. All right, let's close our eyes. Look at the clock. Oh, yeah. All right. Let's take a minute and then slowly open the eyes. Thank you to the source of creation for being everything, for being us and our ancestors and our physical bodies, which wouldn't be here but for our ancestors. So we're grateful. Thank you to the eternal tradition of wisdom that is the bridge of knowledge that connects, that sort of integrates the source of creation with the whole field of the manifest. May we work efficiently tonight. It is my hope that, at first, I'd like to thank everybody who's here. And so many people sent in wonderful questions. I've got a whole pile of questions for tomorrow as well. But thank you for enthusiastically sending in questions. And of course, it's not too late. You can still send in more questions in the question and answer box down there, that we can go through. It's my hope that for today's session, we can go through and touch on all each one of the systems that you have decided that you would like us to look at tonight together, and that we can do honor to each one, that we can do healings for each one that really brings these systems into a higher level of functioning for everybody, for all of us, and for anybody else, for the ancestors, anybody else in our world who can benefit. Because we do this for ourselves, but we do this for everyone, right? We're all connected. The field, it connects everyone, right? Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. All right, systems of the body. There are physical systems up here at the physical level. And I have to remember to point on this side so we don't get shadows. Physical systems. And then the systems have realities at the finer, more abstract levels of the physiology. But down here in this gap area, in this connection to the absolute, there are specific laws of nature that govern the functioning and the structuring and the healing and the nature of the physical material systems. And the intelligence that's down here, think of it as kind of a deep body intelligence. This source of creation is like the ocean. But this area, just like at the surface of the ocean, is also like an ocean. It's also very big. It's very, very big. So we need to know how to navigate that area in order to connect with the specific laws of nature required to allow us to heal the specific systems, right? So for example, the intelligence of the eye is very different from the intelligence of the liver. I mean, maybe not so very, very different because they're all body parts, but we could say, or the hair, the intelligence of the hair is different from the intelligence. Oh, they talk to each other. No, anyway, sorry. Yes, the intelligence of the eye is different from the intelligence of the hair, is different from the intelligence of the tongue, is different from the intelligence of the shoulders, etc. Each one has its own flavor. Each one has its own field of autonomy. As we go through the different systems, what we want to do is we want to kind of check in, clue in with the specific intelligence of various systems. So today we're not talking so much about specific organs as we are talking about systems. So that means, like, you can imagine there's a small deva for the eye, but then there's, I call them, they're known as devata in Vedic science. So I'm using this word devata to describe these intelligences of the body. English doesn't have like a set word for it, but Vedic science does. But you can imagine that if you take, for instance, all the devata of all the senses of perception, take the devata for the eye, and the devata for the ear, and the devata for smelling, and the devata for tasting, and the devata for feeling, there will be a overarching, like, bigger region of this causal level. I call this the causal level of creation, this very close to the ocean level. And there'll be like a bigger package of that particular intelligence that oversees all sensory type of experience. Okay. So that's the level that we're looking at today. And of course, there's one big, big intelligence, right, that oversees all the systems and all the parts and all the bits and pieces. And that's the body elemental. And you can go to my knowledge base and you can read about the body elemental on the knowledge base. Probably easiest to sort alphabetically. All right. So Devata in the body, these are these intelligence. You can think of them as laws of nature that are responsible to make the turns. They're responsible to grab the point of the iceberg and move it. This is part of you. This is part of your consciousness. Your consciousness can experience life up here at the surface, but it can dive inside. That's why we do our minutes of silence. And it can find that level where the laws of nature are that move. They move this skin that's over top of the ocean, where all the manifesting potential is like concentrated. It's concentrated in the skin on the top of the ocean of unmanifest, eternal, quality-less being. So two things. One is to isolate and define the devata for the particular system that we're looking at. And the other thing is to activate the movement, to initiate that flow of healing transformation. Oh, that's the exciting part. So I'm glad we're here together doing this. Well, let's do it. So let's dive in. All I'm going to do in this, you guys know who've been with me for a while. Sometimes I think so much and I make little outlines and all that. And sometimes I just wing it. So anyway, today what I'm doing is you guys made the outline. Thank you again, a big official thank you to everyone who sent in questions and mentioned specific systems that they wanted to look at. And I would like to sort of favor those systems that we didn't touch upon the last time we did a systems webinar, which was in January or December? December. So it was December 2020. We did something like this and I thought, oh, we'll just go through every system of the body. And then we did not. We went through 3 systems and then, okay, that was a whole hour. So this time we're going to do a little, try to be more efficient, but also look at some of the other systems that we didn't look at last time. So I've got questions here and I see questions coming in here. Thank you very much, everybody. Let's just do this. Here's the first question is healing about bone loss. And there's several people who mentioned questions about bone loss. So, bone loss. And in this case, this lady's case, she specifically has bone loss in the mouth, like around the teeth. All right, so what are we looking at? We're looking at the intelligence responsible for the bones, the hardest substance in the body. This would be an intelligence that is yoked to or connected to stability, right? And also resource, because the thing about the bones is they hold a lot of minerals. And then they also are responsible for creating components of the blood. And also, I think some of the other components of also ventricle fluid or, what's that word? It's in the, sorry guys, it's in the blood, but it's not blood. Plasma, thank you. Right. So, I mean, things like hormones and enzymes and even neuropeptides and lots of proteins. These are things that are made in the bones. Bones are so amazing that they can make the stuff out of which our whole body, even the soft parts of our body, are made. So God bless the bones, right? So we want to just clue in with that level of nature's intelligence, that level of the body's intelligence that has no problem taking essential components and creating anything. Lots of stem cells in the bones. Also, interesting note, as long as we're putting our attention, this is what we're doing. We're just we start by putting our attention up here on the bones. But as I'm talking about it, the attention is getting deeper, more delicate, more of a feel for the bones, right? So instead of just intellectually understanding, oh, the bone is like this and the bone is like that, we start talking and we understand that, but then we kind of get this feel for the bones, right? Because ultimately the level of the bone's intelligence, the devata of the bone, is down here at a very deep feeling level. That's where we're going. I'm just telling you what we're doing so you don't get surprised. Stem cells and the ability to create and the ability to transform from raw materials into other materials, into more complex materials, more simple, like calcium and magnesium and potassium and selenium and iron and like that. And then compose these lovely living forms, these forms inside of us that are intelligent and that carry information around and fuel the immune system, and of course all the blood. So everything is coming from this sort of deep, you could say, it's interesting. I was thinking, why did we start with the bones? But I realized that one of the reasons we start with the bones is because the role of the bones is interestingly correlated with this source of creation level, right? Because it's like this resource. It's this wonderful resource that's also creative. So all the energy and intelligence and creativity, all that comes from the source of creation is then right at the Devata level, is then transformed into impulses of intelligence and consciousness. You could think of like waves of your intelligence that move through, that ultimately rise up to the surface and make the physiology. So the bones, they show that story, right? They're representing it. And I'd like to add one thing here. The bones do this with earth and water. Those are kind of the main, I would say, the main elements that the bones work with, right? Like the ears, they're working with space, and the skin is working with air, but the bones, they're working with earth and water. Because solid, we're talking about minerals, and so just as the bones have their reality at that fine level, so earth and water do too. Oh, just like my picture. So earth and water have this reality at the surface, but then they also have this very delicate reality deep within the ocean of consciousness, their essential nature, you could say. And the closer our awareness gets to this junction point, or this gap between the unmanifest and the manifest, the more concentrated life force is present. So things that seem kind of inanimate on the surface can actually be very sort of deeply imbued with life force when we look at their deepest level. Oh, it's interesting. Do I have rocks? I have rocks. Oh, I have some special rocks. Right? So this is a piece of phenacite, and you can see it's almost luminous. Isn't it amazing how it's a rock, but it seems to almost radiate light from within it because it captures the light, it holds it and refracts the light. And then like there's like a holding moment. So I appreciate so much having these rocks. Anyway, you should see it next to my dark desk. It's just like a light bulb almost lit up there. So the rocks have this ability to hold the light of consciousness, or the light of being, and to create a stable environment for the light of divine being to reside. And this is also what the bones do. Our bones have this because they're so solid. They represent that marriage between the very ethereal, qualityless being and the stability and strength and solidity of the relative. Download for everyone at this point of that intelligence that we think of as the Devata of the bones. The bones can heal themselves, and they can grow new cells, right? Like not all the organs of the body are known to regenerate themselves, but the bones do that great. With humans especially, amazing what we can do. So that regenerative capability in the bones is born of knowledge and compassion in the bones. So as we're holding space in our hearts for the specific intelligence of the skeletal system, We offer that compassion and wisdom, knowledge. The knowledge, the bones have the knowledge. They know how to build structure. That's what they do. So what we add, what you and I add, is that love. We add the love and, love and reverence and appreciation, recognition, right? We're starting with recognition, but we're moving on now to love and appreciation. And the love and appreciation are like a catalyst that get the knowledge moving. They get the wisdom moving. So the wisdom that the bones possess and that the intelligence of the bones possess. And this is a good time for all of you guys, everybody here, if there's a particular area you would like to strengthen and fortify your skeletal system. It's good if it's in the mouth, or if it's in the joints, or if it's in the back, maybe in the extremities. It's very simple. It's very simple. The heart flows with reverence and gratitude for the intelligence of the skeletal system. This causes many resources in your body, subtle resources, as well as grosser resources. Grosser as in denser, right? Anyway, it allows those resources to move to the skeletal system, to the intelligence of the skeletal system. And I'm just feeling the reception of this flow of your creativity and intelligence moving to the intelligence of the skeletal system, to the Devata. So we're making a loop, right? This is an internal loop made of consciousness, your consciousness. Part of your consciousness is the intelligence of the skeletal system. Part of your intelligence is the wisdom of your heart. We're putting them together. Part of it's the wisdom of the skeletal system. Part of it's the wisdom of the heart. We're putting them together, bringing them together like a marriage. And what happens is the wisdom of the skeletal system recognizes and receives and appreciates the wisdom of the heart. And the wisdom of the heart recognizes and receives the wisdom of the ability to feel, right? It recognizes and receives the wisdom of the skeletal system. This is where your attention is key, because what's happening here is we are each processing or integrating this bone wisdom here first in the heart energy center. And by doing that, we directly interface with that wisdom prior to the whole mental, analytical, thinking level. But here, just here, that wisdom. What is that wisdom? And what is that stability? And what is that immense creativity that can take essential elements and turn them into anything? These are, you can see the laws of nature, of manifestation, are all contained in the bones. And what the heart wisdom does, what I'm seeing the heart wisdom doing, and this is actually related to the silence that we had at the beginning of our session. The heart wisdom is it's connecting the upgrade. There's an upgrade taking place here. And it's like your body and your being is associating this information with pre-existing knowledge of the way minerals evolved in the universe. That's really important, because the resources to move the creation, to move the material at that finest level of creation, those resources, that level of wisdom, like, well, how do I move it? Which direction do I move it? What's the best way to approach the move? All that comes from the part of our intelligence as cosmic beings. Our souls, were around before we became human beings. We've been part of the cosmos since the very beginning. Nothing in the universe is ever lost, right? It all was there in the Big Bang. We were all there. We're all just one. It was like one chakra, right? Just one. But then it diversified and diversified and diversified. So we're all there from the very start. And it's that level of our intelligence and our consciousness is this very cosmic level that exactly knows how to bend, how to move the energy, the consciousness, and the gap. So just focus on that for a moment. We just watch that happen. I'll report it because that's my job is to report. Like I said, there wasn't like a script for this or anything, It's the funnest way to do it. So the marriage of compassion and wisdom for the Devata is activating the movement of that wisdom to focus in the specific areas of your body where the bones need to fortify and heal. Those areas are lighting up with a light, the light of consciousness, and the light of consciousness in specific areas. And this is going to differ a little bit for each person in this healing session, but the light of consciousness will take on slightly different flavors, and it'll be like a slightly different flavor if it's rebuilding enamel in your teeth or rebuilding your jawbone than it will if it's, say, working in the spine or some other area. Even though the resources, I would say the components of the blood and the immune system and a lot of the proteins and other materials that our body uses are made in the bones. They're not all made equally in the bones. Some bones are like they specialize in certain types of materials for the body, whereas other bones specialize in some other type of material. It's interesting. I don't know exactly how that divides up, but I read that in some kind of authoritative online place, Wikipedia or someplace like that. It was an article about how the bones stop producing those resources as we get older, but there's certain bones in the body that always continue because there's certain types of like hormones and materials that the body needs when it's young and like when it's growing, right? It needs like human growth hormone more than when we get to be middle-aged or a little bit older. We don't need so much human growth hormone. I'm just having a moment of feeling a lot of tingling in my skeletal system and enjoying that and offering that experience and warmth. There's a lot of warmth in the skeletal system as well. And I'm offering the gift of this healing back into the field of silence. It's like, oh, there's some transformation taking place. Oh, there's some change taking place. Well, thank you. Thank you. I offer it at the feet of the ocean of the source of creation, just offering it there with deepest gratitude, with deepest appreciation. I'm seeing the ancestors are also receiving a healing here, which is very nice. Because some of the problems that some of us have with the bones are actually related to imbalances in the DNA, like areas where the potential of the DNA is a little compromised. Clearing beliefs with the ancestors. especially beliefs around the relationship with Father, because the bones are kind of, they have a kind of role in the body that's a little bit like the role of Father. You provide structure, resources. And it's in our culture and our society. I just found out the other day that the statistic that about 68% of children are growing up in single parent households in America. I don't know about other countries, but the statistic was for America. And there's some thought like maybe the father's not that necessary or something like that. And that's just so not true. That is not true. It's a healing going out for all the fathers and all the children without fathers as well. This is the bones. These are the bones of our society. These are the bones of our culture. It heals the heart, right? And as this healing is going out to the bones of our culture and healing the heart at that level, it reflects back into our hearts and upgrades, and I mean the heart energy center, and upgrades our ability to create waves of recognition, appreciation, love, compassion, mercy, forgiveness for our own devata. So it's like the quality, the flavor of the soma, the flavor of the material that we're producing that feeds our devata, or devatas, I guess, our devatas, is increasing in value. Very sweet. You can feel it here. If you want to put the hands here or the fingers, sometimes I go like that. But you don't have to. I'm just saying. All right, so that was a question from the pages here, and I've also got questions here. One particular question has come in. It's not really about systems, so I think we'll wait on that one. It's because we've got a big group, and it's nice to be able to really honor everybody's systems questions for tonight's session. But don't worry, eventually all the questions will be answered. I've just started getting more involved with energy healing. Why do my hands get warm now when I meditate? Well, they're chakras in your hand. This is another system, is the subtle systems, right? There's like the meridian system and the nadi system in the physiology. And these are systems where consciousness flows, and it flows not so much in specific like physical channels, like the blood flows through the veins and arteries, right? But there are channels of energy flow through the body that are not so constrained by the physical form of the body. And these channels include meridian channels, and some of them run, it's very nice because they run from the heart center up through the shoulders, trying to stay away from that shadow, and not that it matters, and then down through the arms and out the palms of the hands. Also, there are micro meridians in the hands, and the thumb and the middle finger have like a deeper concentration of meridians than the other three fingers. So that's why these two are the most powerful fingers for particular types of healing work. And when you feel that warmth in the hands, it just means that there's good flow. You've got good healing flow. And of course, you can check out the knowledge base. There's an entry for the hand chakras, I think it's my most popular video. Oh, say for maybe the Bat Gap interview. But it's a very popular video of how to use your hand chakras to heal. Could you help with brain fog and floaters? Right. So these are for the eyes, please. For the eyes, please. First of all, for floaters, one of the best things you can do for floaters is sun gazing. And this is very much on the surface. This is something you can just do. It doesn't take any kind of subtle perception or moving your consciousness around even. It just involves finding the sun within 15 degrees of the horizon in the morning. So not everyone's house affords the convenience of seeing the rising sun. But if you can catch the rising sun, just for 10 seconds, no more than 10 seconds, because, but when the sun is right there on the horizon, the light of the sun is coming through so many layers of atmosphere that the layers of atmosphere really block out any kind of very damaging rays. And if you only look for about 10 seconds, then this light of the sun goes and it really, really heals. It just really clears up those floaters. Don't overdo it. And always make sure that the sun is like 15 degrees of the horizon's like within the first hour of rising. Don't do it after the first hour after sunrise. Just do it when it's near. So the light is being filtered through our atmosphere. And then you can look directly at the sun for about 10 seconds and you'll find not only does it get rid of the floaters, but it brings bliss to the body. You get all the different frequencies of light. All the different frequencies of light, even frequencies of light that we don't see or that we don't like perceive with the organs of the eyes. So we get these and not just the eyes get it, but also the other, like the chakra points get this light. And it's very good for activating the fires of digestion. It will improve that. You'll find digestion becomes stronger and you find yourself able to metabolize food more efficiently. The reason that's useful is because the brain fog is partly a byproduct of a lot of the body's energies being absorbed into other areas of the body. So when, like, for example, when we're digesting heavily, we can't think quite as clearly. I don't eat meals before I do these sessions, right? I don't eat dinner before I do this because I know that if I'm trying to digest a big old meal, I'm not going to be able to think as clearly. So brain fog has a direct and kind of very close correlation with digestion. The stronger and cleaner your digestion runs and the better it runs, the less brain fog there will be. We did cover in that last webinar, we covered the three like really big basic areas. I think that was digestive system, nervous system, and immune system. I think maybe endocrine system, but I don't mind. I think a lot of questions have come in about the nervous system, so I don't want to deny those of you who are here fresh with questions about the nervous system as well. So here's another question. Please, can we heal the nervous system? Burning nerves, burning nerves. All right. Burning sensation and also lack of sensation in the nervous system is a byproduct of blockage. So when the nervous system gets blocked, I see something coming here, you guys. Okay. So the thing about blockage in the nervous system is, again, it's related to ama in the system. Ama is a byproduct of inefficient digestion. And if we think, we have to think this through a little bit, because we'll still go in and we'll do the thing with the devata of the nervous system because it's such a important system. But I mean, all the systems are important, but when we put our attention on the devata of a particular system or of a particular organ, we're opening a channel in the field of consciousness for the finest byproduct of digestion to make its way to that devata. In other words, the finest byproduct of your digestion is in Vedic science known as soma, S-O-M-A. You can look that up on my knowledge base if you, and you can take a note of this time in the session, because we can just put a little flag there when we make the video. We can put a little flag to look at the knowledge base soma. But when the digestion is good and it's really strong, then, and also the muscles. And it's really important that we didn't do the muscles yet. We just did the skeletal system, but soma is primarily made in the muscle tissue and very much in the heart, because that's where the mitochondria are. The most concentration of mitochondria in the body. Mitochondria, for those of you who aren't sure about that one, is a subcellular structure, which is actually a unique entity in itself. We think, oh, all the parts of my cell are just like organs inside my cell. Well, not all organs are the same. The mitochondria are actually, they have their own package of DNA, because they originally entered the human physiology, or probably before we were humans, they entered physiologies, corporeal beings, back as a bacteria or a virus of some kind. And I'm not actually sure, maybe there's some more knowledge out there. The scientists in the audience will know if they came in originally as a virus or as a bacteria. I'm thinking they came in as a bacteria, because when I look at the structure of the mitochondria, it's more bacterial than it is viral. But the thing about the mitochondria in the cells is that when the nutrients finally make their way into a cell, the mitochondria take those nutrients and they transform them into energy, among other things, adenosine triphosphate, among other things. And as that happens, anytime there's a transformation, there's some of the energy goes into the adenosine triphosphate, but some parts go off like that, they go out. And this byproduct of this process is this very fine material that literally nourishes the devatas in your body. You can read more about that on the knowledge base. I don't want to take too much time, but it's important. It's important. So for the nervous system, the intelligence of the nervous system is so glorious. It is so lovely. It has this ability to upgrade itself, to evolve itself. The human nervous system has the ability to interact with itself in such a way that we literally evolve. It's quite something. It's quite an amazing thing. So we'll just take a moment and just experience this, because the nervous system's own ability to support its own and to structure its own evolution gives us a very deep appreciation of the nature of the devata of the nervous system, right? Direct experience. So the nervous system is responsible for all the senses of perception, right? And it's responsible for the flow of awareness. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn the flow of awareness, which is very much sort of integral to the nervous system, back on itself. And one of the easy and nice ways to do this, orderly ways to do this, is to, you might want to close the eyes for this one, but you don't have to, is to take a moment and feel inside the brain stem, down the spine. We're just taking our awareness. We're just doing a scan of the nervous system, right? So we do a scan around the cranium. We do a scan down into the third, that sort of central, the limbic system, they call the central area of the brain, down into the brain stem, down into the spine, and then through each vertebrae in the spine, feel the nervous system as it expands out into the extremities of the body, into the organs of digestion, into the circulatory system, into the bones, into the hands and feet. So we just get a scan. We're just going to scan it through. All right. So everybody's okay? You can scan through your nervous systems all right? Everybody can feel it? Okay, now we're going to step it up a notch. And what we're going to do is we're going to come back up to the brain. And if you can scan your awareness through the nervous system, then you can focus your awareness. You can bring it into focus in a specific part of the nervous system, yes? So what we're going to do is we're going to bring that focus into a specific area in the brain. We're going to bring the focus up into the left hemisphere of the brain. And just have the focus of awareness in the left hemisphere. This is your point of perspective. The left hemisphere, from the window of the left hemisphere, we look at the right hemisphere. Oh, excuse me, I meant right. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Let's go with left. Okay, from the perspective of the left hemisphere of the brain, we look at the right hemisphere. That means you plant yourself in one spot and then you flow awareness to the other spot. It has to flow through that central part of the brain, right? Through the corpus callosum, because that's where the two sides of the brain communicate. All right, let's plant our awareness on the right side of the brain. So awareness is on the right side and it's looking at the left side. The right side looks at the left side. The left side looks at the right side. You might find one side's a little easier than the other. That's okay, because naturally we tend to orient a little bit, like every 90 minutes we'll be like a little bit more on one side, a little bit more on the other side, like that. I can feel right now more on my right side, so yeah. 3-in-1. 3-in-1 is created, is experienced directly through this exercise, because there is the knower, there is the known, and there is the process of knowing. This 3-in-1 structure occurs deep within the ocean of unmanifest being. So it's a way of really, really connecting into a very deep, deep level of consciousness. It is a way of having an experience that mirrors or reflects that. It's not exactly, this exercise is not exactly the same as transcending, as in a meditative technique that allows the mind to transcend to the source of creation, but it does allow a mirroring of the dynamic that occurs deep, deep within the source of creation, and also right there at that gap. There's the knower, the known, and the process of knowing. And these are Vedic principles. They have Vedic names. Vedic science gives them names. Rishi, Devata, Chandas. Rishi is the knower, Devata is the process of knowing, and Chandas is the form or the object. But when we focus, when we take a moment to feel that 3-in-1 reality, you've got the one side of the brain, the other side of the brain, and the connecting, right? So you've got the 3-in-1. It creates an alignment with the sacred field of knowledge and wisdom, because this combination of knower, known, and process of knowing is fundamental to everything that manifests, especially when one of them looks at the other one. Like, that's the way the manifestation emerges from the source of creation, is that Rishi is looking at the object of awareness, which is actually himself, itself, and knows itself as a process of knowing. The knower knows itself as the process of knowing. So it's both knower, known, and knowing all together, right? It's one wholeness, just like in the brain. It's one wholeness, one big brain. But when one of these three looks at the other one, it understands the other part in terms of itself. So if the knower, looks at the object of knowing, it understands the object in the context of its own nature, in the context of itself. This is very important, because this folding of these three values on each other works together. They start to create layers of looking at themselves. They start to create layers. Oh, the knower looks at the known in the context of itself, and then the knower, looking at the known in the context of itself, then understands that it's the process of knowing. So then that adds another layer. But the process of knowing, being understood in those terms, then folds back into the knower, like that, and it just multiplies out into infinite numbers of layers. I hope that wasn't too abstract. Oh, but anyway, these fine mechanics have a simplicity about them. Just know that there's three and they're actually one and they just fold in on each other. They just do that. And you can do that with your brain. You can actually do that with your brain. The devata of the nervous system is an intimate relationship with this 3-in-1 reality. Oh, is that the Boy Scouts? The Boy Scouts. This is Boy Scouts. This is Vedic science. Anyway, yeah, 3-in-1 reality. 3-in-1. It's a download for everyone. It's just a direct download so that the experience comes in directly and we not only understand 3-in-1 and its relationship to the entire manifesting process, but also appreciate the sophistication and the incredible rarity and magnificence of the human nervous system. There's the devata. Really appreciate it, like in a really profound way. There's the devata. So we're feeling it. And then all that area that you scanned from your brain down into your brain stem, down into the central nervous system, all that area is just scintillating with the bliss of appreciation. It's humming with the joy of the focus of your attention. You enliven it. Can you feel you're enlivening your nervous system just by putting attention on it? And who's putting attention on it? The nervous system is putting attention on itself, right? Right? Because it's like the instrument by which we put attention. When we did that exercise up in our brain, was my eye looking at my other side of my brain? No. The nervous system itself focuses attention. Like that's what it can do. Cool. It's a cool thing. It's the presence of the nervous system in all the parts of the body. It's the presence of consciousness represented by the nervous system in all the parts of the body that focuses. It's really consciousness that moves. Very abstract, even before the material. And this shift is the shift that's opening up blockages in the nervous system. There's been a long system of misunderstanding and false beliefs about the nervous system that the flow of consciousness is a byproduct of the presence of the nervous system. And of course, I think most of you guys are well aware that that's not the case. That in fact, the nervous system is the byproduct of consciousness, folding in on itself, right? Now we're known in the three, becoming one, folding in on themselves like they're rolling, is what gives rise to the physical material form. Because this little shift, and this is a very little shift, it's a tiny shift, just like I mentioned before, we come down to this very delicate level, and we just let this tiny little belief shift. Now, as this belief, this very delicate level where this very delicate shift is taking place is a collective level of our creation. So a little shift down here at this level, it touches all the field of creation, all the manifest. So we're talking ancestors and past lives and even the collective field of humanity. And so, and it's what's happening, what we're doing is we're creating a shift that is illustrating, while it's 3-in-1, it's 3-in-1, it's illustrating that consciousness comes first. Consciousness moves, and the byproduct is a manifestation at the superficial level. This is a foundation of part of the blockage. Look, anytime there's a blockage of any kind whatsoever, ultimately what's happening is the one is being obscured by the many. And the one is the many, and the many is the one. But the nature of the manifestation process is so interesting, and it's so complex, and it's so detailed, and it's so amazing that sometimes the human system, as humans, we get so caught in that field of how we as creators, we're human creators, we make like fish don't make things like, well, actually, I've seen fish. There are fish that make really beautiful mandala shapes under the water, but But we humans, we make with our nice little hands. We make things in ways that other beings don't make. And so we get caught, and it overshadows wholeness. It overshadows the fact that the one ocean is actually appearing as all this relative field of creation. It's only appearing as that. And it is that, and it enters into that. And all of this relative field is that ocean. But it's like it gets covered up, it gets blocked. So that's the blockage. That's the fundamental blockage in any blockage, whether you've got blockages in your meridians or in your chakras or in the flow of the intelligence of your skeletal system to heal bones that need to heal, right? Like we heal broken bones. Why can't we just rebuild tissues, the bone tissue in the jaw and teeth? Well, we can. The answer is yes. But it has to unblock. And what blocks? The blockage is always the camouflaging of the one by the many. It's simple. It's kind of simple. If we can understand the basic principles, it really helps. Oh, a nutritional coach and feel her client's energy much more now. How can I protect her field while helping them? All right, this is a really important question, and then I'll go back to these questions. Lots of questions have come in, you guys. Oh, so tomorrow we also do questions. But the main principle for helping others is actually very connected to this thing that we just did for the nervous system, interestingly. And that is that nobody heals anybody, really. Nobody heals anybody. People heal themselves. What we do, and here, you guys, here, even though we're sitting as a big group and I've got this job, I'm here being the mouth of our group, right? So, but I want to share with you this detail because it's so important. It's so important as we are evolving through the process of energy healing. Everybody will be noticing themselves being more sensitive and more aware. And like people come in and you can feel their pain, right? So the thing that protects your energy, that helps you stay always imbued with bliss and experiencing increased evolution yourself through the process of working with others, is to recognize that it really is only the one that's doing everything. There is no really, I mean, we have our training, right? Like I have a kind of, it wasn't, you probably went through a much more kind of maybe organized and culturally accepted training for the work that you do. But I was going to say rigorous, but I have to say what I've been through has been fairly rigorous. I've been through something. But and you have knowledge and you have experience that the people come to you, they don't have that knowledge and experience. So, you're standing as a bit of an authority for them. But the thing is that usually when people come for healing help, it's because they need to reclaim their own power, their personal power over their own healing process. So as an authority, as a coach, as a person who's helping others, it's really valuable for you to protect yourself, to know that who is really healing who is really helping. Really, they're helping themselves from the inside. What do we do as a coach? What we do is we create a condition, we create a space for people to come where they feel safe. If the person comes to you and they think, this sweet person, they went through a lot of training so that they could be authoritative and they could help me, so I feel safe with them. I feel safe that they've got the resources and the knowledge and the capability to really support me in my healing process. And especially if there's a good heart connection. And I think this is very important because you might find if you're in a professional position, you might find sometimes the heart connection is easier, sometimes maybe not as easy, something like that. But when the heart connection is good, then the individual is open to their own inner wisdom. When their heart feels safe with you, then they become a little vulnerable and they open their heart wisdom. And when they open their heart wisdom, they hear their essential truth. You could think, oh, I'm telling them about vitamin D, or something. But somehow in here, there's like there's like a feeling, an awakening of a feeling in the heart area of, oh, I really need to just really get more sleep. They suddenly realize or something. You know what I'm saying? It's like we hear what we're supposed to hear. And much of the wisdom that we receive and integrate comes from, really, it all comes from within. There can be a point on the surface, but the important thing is within. So you protect yourself by knowing that you really aren't doing anything to anybody, right? You aren't, I mean, part of it is realizing that you're not absolutely essential, right? Because they could find through the breeze could blow across their forehead and they could suddenly realize, oh, I need to go to bed earlier, or whatever it is that they really, really, really need. But, and yet what the coach does as a representative of that internal wisdom is create a safe space for the wisdom to flow. And what allows the wisdom to flow is realizing that the wisdom is coming from here. It comes from the source of creation. That's where the home of all wisdom. And so what we're doing is we're just stabilizing what I do, right? That's why we have our silence at the beginning of these sessions, right? Is we stabilize that connection to this guy here, to this bit. And when that connection is stabilized in one person's physiology, then your physiology acts like a tuning fork for their physiology. Like you've got the stability of your connection, your anchor to the source of creation in you. So from that level, you go through the motions, the things that are needed for that person, whatever, because you're educated, right? You know what they need and you say what they need to them, but know that their healing is really coming through them. It's coming through their connection to that anchor. And because you're connecting with your anchor, then it's easier for them to connect with their anchor. It's easier for their inner wisdom to flow when they're with you. And that's exactly what we're doing here. But we're doing it. What's cool about the live webinars is that we're each being the anchor for all of the group. We're each being the anchor for each other, right? Which is a whole nother level of dynamism of that principle, which is why I think these webinars are very popular and have been growing so quickly over the course of this time that I've been offering them. When we're in a group of people and everybody's anchored, or the vast majority are anchored, then we create a field effect with our anchors. And then everybody is more connected to their inner source, their inner wisdom. And then I know everybody's having their own layers of experience. It's beautiful. Okay. Okay, now a really fabulous question just came in here. And that is, the question is there a hierarchy of systems? And if so, is there a Maha system which we could focus on, which would enhance and optimize functioning of all the systems? Yes, fabulous question. And that question is from an anonymous attendee. That question's almost identical to another fabulous question that came in this last couple days. Right. So yeah, here's this other question. So maybe it's the same person asking me twice. I don't know. Or maybe with all of us with our anchors, we're all starting to think like big brain thinking together. Could be. So the question is worded here is, we know that nature functions in parallel patterns, similar systems at different levels of organization, like the cell, the tissue, the organ, the system, like that. And we all have structures to provide for defense, waste management, information, etc. What are these systems for the cosmic body? Oh, see, she actually gives the answer in her question. Oh, the cosmic body. Okay. Good question. With regards to information storage, for instance, there's DNA. Then she goes on to answer. I love this. I love the way you guys think, man. You are just so here with me, and it's. I'm partly reading it just because a lot of the answers are already here. With regard to information storage, there's DNA in the cell, or there's a brain, right? There's like the hippocampus. Oh, I think she says that there. There's a hippocampus, right, in the brain, the inferior temporal cortex. But a country's archives, for instance, like libraries, in little small communities, we have libraries. Or how about the internet, right? We've got a big source of information storage. Google, and U.S. Smithsonian, she mentions. And then at the cosmic level, there's the Akashic record. She mentioned it, right? See, so smart, big brain. And so are there some Devata responsible for organizing specific functions at different levels? Example is Agni, overseeing cell metabolism and digestion, fuel and food consumption. And then there's star energy. And well, I should probably talk more about that tomorrow, because one of our Europeans will be coming on with us, will be here tomorrow, and he has a special interest in star energy. So I believe we've come to a level of integration with our work, which is really, really high level now because of that. So today, we just have a few more minutes. So let's set a foundation, and then tomorrow let's come back to star energy, because it's well worth a deeper investigation, especially with our big group shining all our light on that. We know that our consciousness is not constrained to our bodies, but can flow throughout the universe. It can flow back to the Big Bang 14.5 billion years ago, instantly, right? You think Big Bang, oh, you're there. You're just there. Oh, the Big Bang. Yeah, I remember the Big Bang. I mean, you can picture the Big Bang. Maybe you don't all exactly. It's like people remembering their birth, right? Not everybody exactly remembers the Big Bang, but anyway, we can send our awareness anywhere, and we can expand our awareness to embrace the entire universe, not just the Big Bang, but the entire expression of expansion of the Big Bang, all the way through to where we are now, all the way through to all levels and parts of the future. Like, consciousness is infinitely flexible. It can move from this point in this house at this moment in front of this camera all the way out to the ends of the universe instantly, back like that. So the large system, if your consciousness can move that big, if it can become that expanded and that big, then it means that the large system is also contained within your consciousness, right? Just think about that for a minute. These cosmic systems, they are reflected in the individual body systems. By understanding our own bodies, by learning to feel into the nervous system, feel into the digestive system, feel into the circulatory system. As we learn that, we are priming the pump. We are training ourselves to move into the cosmic systems. We talked about the skeletal system earlier. There is absolutely a system within our universe for the stability, the mineralogical evolution in our universe, for if you want to feel into the intelligence for that, we can look to the structurers, the intelligence that structures in our universe. And the intelligence that structures in our universe is catalyzed by attraction, by love, basically gravity. Gravity is what causes cosmic dust to start to cluster together in little globs and to start to get enough mass going that it starts to spin. And so gravity does it. And gravity is that reverence that we approached our own skeletal system with tonight. We interact with and integrate our relationship with the cosmic devas. And I use the word devas instead of devata just because that's a Vedic tradition, that the devatas are here, the devas are out there. But these devas are really so different from the devata inside the body. They're just spread more systemically through the universe. We could say that this area very close to the source of creation has its own little range, and it has more specified forms and it has more universal forms like that. Very, very delicate. So you can think of whether we're looking at a big region that sort of covers like most of this ocean, like a big region, or we're just looking at one little region on top of one little wave. It's all made of water. It's all made of ocean. So once you know consciousness is no different to focus on the universal forms than it is to focus on the individual forms. I'm almost done. Anyway, as promised, let's go into some examples tomorrow. And everybody, thank you so much. I see tons of questions came in. I adore you all, and I'm so grateful, and I really want to go for everybody's questions. So I promised one lady who asked a question about the skin last time, like in December, and I don't think I got to it. So I absolutely swear on a stack of Bibles, we're starting with the integumentary system. I think that's pronounced integumentary system tomorrow. Yes, because you are all extremely dear to me. Thank you for the questions. I will print out all these questions that you had tonight, so I have them for tomorrow as well, and we will just keep rolling through them. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you all. It's been really beautiful. I'm really delighted that we got to have this time together, and I'll see most of you tomorrow. So have a beautiful night. Bye-bye.